I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
President Mungy,
Here.
Vice President Matthews,
Here.
Member Nath,
Here.
Member Bramsher,
Here.
Member Gallardi is absent, Member Gogra is absent, Council Representative McKenzie,
Here.
and staff and ex officio members present today are Executive Director Frandl and EDA Secretary Cherney.
Thank you very much. Motion to adopt agenda, please.
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Nath, McKenzie, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to open the meeting up to the public. Anybody here to step up to the mic?
Minutes first, or are you good with that?
I apologize. Let's do that first.
Okay.
Approval of the minutes, please. Item A, approval of March 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Looking for a motion.
Anyone?
I'll make that motion.
Member Nath,
I'll second.
McKenzie, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's open to the public for any discussion.
Jim, go first.
Jason Norby, resident and council member, 2736 6th Avenue East, North St. Paul, Minnesota. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak. Primarily, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to serve. Your guidance and leadership are very valuable, and I know the personal constraints upon you to take time out of your busy schedule. It can be a lot, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time. I don't know if there's any truth to this or not, but in reviewing the meetings, I get the impression that sometimes you are all searching for home runs. And although I appreciate home runs, I don't think that needs to be every swing of the bat. If you're only searching for home runs, I can understand the thought process of going to quarterly, but I would suggest that pursuing singles is a wise and worthwhile endeavor as well. So I would encourage you to still meet monthly. And I took half hour and I wrote down, 8 or 9 items that I believe could be singles for the EDA. Thank you for allowing me this time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cole, you coming up? Sure. Come on up. You're the next contestant. Just don't hear curtain 3.
Ever done this before? Tim Cole, 2570 Sean's Way, North St. Paul.
All right.
Where's
I
that?
am here as a resident for the first time ever. I do want to note it that you do have a council quorum present, just FYI with the two of them, and so I don't know if that's, we always had to make sure we announced it or not, so just so everybody knows. Part of the agenda topic tonight, I believe, is, I can't remember how it was worded, but it was basically the decision to go EDA versus EDC. Is that kind of where it left off last month? Okay. So just since, Joe, you're the longest living member currently sitting up there of the EDA, I want to take a step back and bring a little history to that decision before it's made. For starters, as an EDA, nothing needs to change. It's currently not broken, and the EDA has done a phenomenal job working with City Council, keeping Council aware of decisions that are being made, actions that are being taken, and bringing them into the loop to buy in on, or to bring them along with the vote and the decisions for, as previously said, home runs. But to take a step back and to look a little bit at history of what the EDA has done under the EDA that wouldn't be allowed to be done under an EDC. If you want to go back, my history only goes back as far as the Anchor Block site. The EDA was involved in the Anchor Block site in doing a lot of the soil studies, land usage, retail studies, and spent EDA funds not involving city council to be able to get this land developed and ready for potential developers. The EDA was involved in meetings with M&I Homes, Quick Trip, and the storage building before any of that information was ever brought and shared to council. Again, representing, showing a courtesy to the council's time and seeing what can be done in collaboration prior to. So EDA did approve funds that were spent out of the EDA budget, which is every year on our taxes as residents that were paid for. The EDA was, I would like to state that in my opinion, the two last big home runs that have been hit wouldn't have been done without the EDA. Whether you look at the Sentinel building or you look at most recently the Article 7. EDA worked and developed a partnership in Article 7 with the Port Authority, contracted, hired, and paid for them to bring them in to help find a developer to develop that entire section of land. The funding was paid for out of the EDA. Once that was done, all that information was brought to council for council's approval as to what that was going to look like going forward. But it creates roadblocks if it becomes an EDC and you have to wait for every other week for a council meeting for some of these decisions to be made. During the Sentinel building, I believe they were having meetings every other week, if not even more frequently, to get going. The EDA was instrumental in helping bring a restaurant to the Sentinel development. The loan, if I'm not mistaken, the loan that was given to help that development was EDA funded, not city funded. The city was brought along for all the things, but if you take the authority out of the EDA, you take away their power, or the city's power, to be able to be a lot more nimble and bring it to an EDC is going to make us uncompetitive. It's going to make the city uncompetitive from a timing standpoint. So with that, that's all I've got to say. It's not broken, no need to change it. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So that is part of the discussion of whether or not to keep the EDA as an authority or to create a recommendation commission that would then report back to the council that would then make the final decision. Turn it over to you, Mayor. Do you have any more information you would like to add to it?
The only, what we were looking at, and I did have this, I haven't really had time to look at it yet, is because part of the EDA as an authority, then, it's the 6-year terms, and it's, have to go through with the treasurers and stuff like that, so that's part of the vote as far as what to look at between the two and what is the most, that work the best for everybody as far as being able to, do the meetings, be able to, like was said, the terms are longer than even the council terms, so they're 6-year terms, and they have to have a treasury and all the people in place. So I know we had a hard time where I was asked to be president last time because we didn't have anything, so as far as anybody else, so that's where I was looking at, is it to make sense to have the council that does it for like Oakdale, Maplewood, and everybody else, where it's a council thing, and then the commission is the one that does, brings things to them, or is it to go with the full authority? So it was at that time, as you can see on this list, I don't know, you guys probably didn't get one, did you? I'll give you the big, you got one? So you guys could take a peek there. So we had an issue when it was the car condo back in the time where there was some things that happened during that, and we had a group that resigned because of the way it went down. So we lost 3 members during that meeting as well during that. So it was one of those times where it was looking at, do we want to continue the way we are? Do we want to go to an EDC? So I just wanted to be able to talk, bring up the both I asked staff to be able to explain the both between the two and the advantages and the disadvantages of both. So just kind of get on the same page to make sure we're starting off. We have some new members on, of course. So it was a good time to go over it.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys had any, as the newer members, any questions that?
I do, so what Tim said makes sense. So what are the negatives of it being, I hear the positives of the EDA. What are the negatives of the EDA? If it's not broken, why change it? That's fine.
Well, it is broken. We have to fix it. It broke because a lot of people resigned. So that's where we're at with it, before you guys got there. Well, it broke because the former EDA was not happy with the development across the street we were looking at. There was a car condo, and he kind of had an agreement with somebody and wanted it to go through, and some feelings were hurt, and it was kind of, they were on their own. And that's when, Tim was on there with me, and we kind of took a step back as far as to try to check things out, and it got to be a little heated between the council during that time and the EDA. Am I stating that correctly?
Am I allowed?
Yeah, please do.
I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, there was.
Why don't you come up to the microphone so that way we have people? I was brand new when all this went down, so I wanted to make sure that I'm on the right page.
Tim Cole, 2570 Shelton. Yeah, there were hurt feelings. There was one or two who strongly believed that that was the right decision. And again, going back to the point where I said that the EDA has always played very fair with the city, the EDA brought forward the recommendation from the EDA to council, and council didn't necessarily agree that that was the development that they wanted to have across the street from City Hall. So there were some hurt feelings in that decision, which did result in one or two resignations basically at that given time. And it was stated that if the EDA doesn't have the authority to make the decisions, what good is an EDA? So they were upset because they felt they were usurped by having council agree on that. And I use that as the example of where the EDA and city council work very well together, that the EDA did make sure that council was involved because the EDA has the authority to do it without council approval. So that's why there's a council member and the mayor sitting up here to make sure that that balance remains.
So even as an authority, even though the authority has the ability to make a decision independent of the council, by virtue of having council members here, we solve that issue.
Helps provide, I'm sorry, Andrew, I interrupted.
Yeah.
Helps provide guidance.
Guidance so that the EDA can't be a rogue organization, given
Correct.
that there's city council people
Yep.
on it. So I come from a banking perspective, and I know about development, or I'm connected to redevelopment and development of sites. What you talked about is, what the EDA brought, which was soil studies, environmental, the ability to negotiate things behind the scenes that don't burden the city council. Those are big factors, especially if somebody's trying to redevelop a site. We're getting into the spring, you gotta move dirt. Those things are meaningful, that nimbleness of an EDA just coming at it on the development side.
All right. Thank you.
And I didn't read what Councilmember Norby put up, but there's things like that that the EDA could be working on now too from that nimbleness standpoint. Any
Thanks
other
for your
questions?
input. Appreciate it.
I feel like Ron, I'm gonna go back to the room.
That's right.
and then-
We'll call you back up when we think of something. But that's the reason I wanted it in front of this new council, was to discuss this, to make sure everybody was in the same position going forward. It works either direction. Part of it with myself too is I always like when there's budgets, the people are elected. I don't, this is a 6-year term just done by a mayor. A mayor is, they suggest it to the council, but, there's not a lot of checks and balances. I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that. If that makes sense?
It does. If I'm, as I think of the city council, they're elected members, we're not.
Correct.
So at the end of the day, the buck stops with you, or
Yep.
the council members,
Yep.
the elected officials.
Yep. They have $200,000 in their kitty that they can go through.
And so if I'm on the city council side, I think, no, I want control over the EDA. It's my knee-jerk reaction, not knowing much. But I do think about the ability of the EDA to do a lot, or some version of it, to be able to do these studies, so that when you have a developer coming in, some of that stuff could be funded by the call it the Economic Development Organization ahead of the city council, just to make the city more nimble.
Okay. And that's where I thought the commission also could do that and then bring it up to that. And then they log in and out. What happens is with Maplewood and, Oakdale, they, just like we do with the HRA, they log in as EDA. We take recommendations from planning commission and everybody else. So it's one of those things where as a group, but if it's authority, then of course we have to have the treasurer and we have to have everybody else and that kind of accountability towards that because there's tax dollars involved by a group. With an authority, there's that as far as it has to be down to as this level. When it comes to the council, it's just rolled in. So what we do for HRAs, we log out, there's the council meeting, we log in as HRA, we pay the bills that gotta be paid, we log out and we're done. So sometimes when it comes to bills and things like that, where everybody has to get, so we still don't even have a quorum here, we're missing two again. So we have to be able to get there, be able to pay the bills, be able to do all that stuff with the treasurer and everything else. That's the big difference in my mind. And that's why I want to discuss with this, because I want opinions, because it's a good group.
And if I could add, I mean, as pros and cons, one con can be having a full board at times. And with a council, chances are you're going to have a full council more often than not. That's not to say it is with every commission. But one of the pros is we've got people like you that are business owners, that are bankers, that know this stuff. And maybe there's times that you know better than some members on council know for some of these things. So, I mean, you can weigh it all out, but it's truly just to have a discussion to have, just saying, what do you feel is most appropriate?
But I think that's where the commission comes in, because with planning, we have architects. We have two architects on the planning commission, and they give us their results as far as what needs to be done in their passing and stuff, so then it passes on to us. So we make the decisions by the information they give us, and that's the same. But I'm open to either one. If we can get, a president elected and a vice president and a treasurer elected, I mean, that's where there's one sheet was here, nominations sheet we need to do for that, because in that 6-year terms, everybody knew that from before? Because I know we had to change that because we hadn't. Yeah.
We changed.
You're still finishing a year.
Okay.
So you can decide after that. But right now, when we first started looking into this, we sent the information out and found out that we weren't within terms, so we need to be 6 years for, like I said, it's longer than the mayor and longer than the commissions are 3, 4 is the council, mayor, 6 is the EDA. So,
Yeah, we were doing it wrong. We were updating the bylaws, and then as a contract, updating that, send it to the attorney, and the attorney made that correction.
so yeah, so that's where we're at. So please,
I guess what I'm thinking is I'm just new on all this, so this is kind of a new venture for me. But we've got some expertise folks here, guys here, that know the banking, know the business owners and how they operate within our city of North St. Paul. I think the authority would be a better fit, being I'm still a council person, but I've got a lot to learn from all these guys of what's gonna happen. And I kinda like the authority end of it better. Then we can take it back to our council.
yeah, we'd still be sitting here the same way.
Right.
It'd just be either way.
Right.
Either way, we're the same group.
Right, now there's a lot for me to learn, this is all new to me, so, and I'm willing to learn all as much as I can take in. But with Andrew here, with all the knowledge of the construction and the banking end of it, that's where we're gonna learn a lot.
I guess my biggest concern is that the city remain as competitive as possible, attracting other businesses. I don't know yet what the, there's always unintended consequences to every decision. I would I certainly wouldn't be comfortable with the vote today before I could kind of dig in a little bit deeper. But as a business owner and a longtime former resident, I want to do everything we can to bring business and residents down to our little city and keep everybody happy.
Whether we move in the direction of a commission or authority, I'm hearing the same thing over and over again. It's all about the people that are in the seats. Whether it's city council or EDA, I don't think it has to do more with who's elected, who's voted on, the authority, the people in the seats that have the right mindset, have the right vision, that want to be involved and see what's, the best outcome for the city is. Whether it's commission or authority, yes, there is an impact there, but there's more of an impact on the people that are involved. And that we can't make a decision on. We don't know. We do not know. Things are going to change over time, so that's the most important thing in my opinion. And I don't know how I really honestly, you guys, I don't know how you make a decision on that, because the butts in the seats are gonna be different.
Well, if it's the butts in the seats for 3 years or 6 years, that's kind of where it's at.
So the question is, Andrew, are you gonna be here for 6 years? I mean,
That's, when it comes to, just understand, because that's what we have to do to follow
Right.
the state statute. So
Right.
we gotta get up to everybody rotating with 6-year terms, so. And that's why I just wanted to talk out loud about it, because I don't want all of a sudden people get locked in and go, well, maybe they didn't know, because, this change happened recently this year, so. Or the end of last year, I think we found out, I can't remember, whenever we started to look into it, so.
I would propose or suggest, since this was put off or tabled from the last committee, that we do go ahead with a vote. It's unfortunate we are missing 2 members, but we seem to be locked until we make a decision moving forward. Are we okay with moving forward with a vote, one way or the other?
Is everybody okay? Let's take hands, is
I,
okay with doing an authority?
I'm fine.
Or a commission?
I'm fine with moving forward and doing a vote, yeah. No problem. As long as you say your address again.
All right. Where do you live?
Yeah, can you get that out there again?
You're gonna have some pizzas delivered tonight.
Tim Cole, 2570 Sean's Way.
Where's that?
Just down the street.
That's right.
The only other thing that I want to bring up from a historian standpoint, and John, you were involved and you were around. This conversation has come up a couple times the last 2 years. Really hasn't come up prior to the last couple of years. But this was brought to council, and Joe, you were around for this, whether we were going to completely dissolve the EDA and let the council take over the position as mayor has represented at a couple of the other cities. Currently, that's their structure. And I believe the vote went down 4-1 to not have the responsibility fall on council, because they've got enough things to do that they appreciated the EDA and the efforts that they put forth. That was the last topic I think that we talked about. So, it's in front of you again.
I think we discussed last meeting, the council has the right to just do what they want, right? They could make a call on this, right? It doesn't necessarily need to fall upon us. Am I right?
Well, it can get things going, there's a budget that the EDA can do, the 200,000, right? Isn't it something like that?
A little over, yep.
Yep, 200,000, where that's your guys' purview. It's the purview of the EDA.
So we
Then
can,
from
we
there-
can spend that
Yep.
however we want.
An authority, you could actually go out and borrow money if you wanted to.
Yeah.
That
You
is the
could.
power of an authority.
Yeah, there's a lot of power.
But if you're a commission, you lose that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the borrowing money. So as an authority, we can go out and borrow money from whom?
A banking industry or bankers.
And that would be something that we would go and we'd borrow money to redevelop a site? Like acquire a site, bulldoze a vacant building, is that?
As an authority, you could do
As-
that.
And so I'm gonna be the devil's advocate again. If I'm sitting on the city council, do I want an EDA to have that much leverage because it impacts the city? If I'm a city council member, I would want some control over that so that we're working together.
But I think would it come to the point where the EDA would come to the council, say, this is where we're looking to possibly remove a building or things like that? Would it go up to a vote for us to vote yes, go ahead, and we could proceed with that project? Is that what we're looking at?
I don't want to go too far down the legal road and misspeak, but it is my understanding, as an authority, you could do that on your own, independent of the council. The authority, or the EDA, has just always been very open and communicative with council, so they are kept in the know.
Could you have city council, could we, again, I'm
Yeah.
new to this. So could we keep it as an EDA, but then have the two city council members or chairs be ex officio positions within the EDA? So regardless of who sits on the city council, there are two spots on the EDA that are filled as an ex officio position by the city council members, so the EDA could never really act independent of the city council.
Yes, I guess where the discrepancy could come in is you might have a majority vote here, but you might not have that same majority vote as a council. So you might be able to have if you have 6 full members, you could have a majority vote here to have it move forward with the project. But theoretically, you could have a council, like, we just don't know what we care for that project, but we're getting into legal stuff here, so I don't want to misspeak. That is my understanding of it.
And I'm just trying to make sure that no one can operate independent of the other. I like the,
They are voting members on the EDA, yes, so they do have an opinion. Not as a full council, but as 2 council members, correct?
are they appointed by how do they get on? Is it an ex officio position where they're automatically put onto the EDA?
Correct. Yeah, mayor and 1 council member.
So you guys will always have that
Yeah,
spot,
2 out of the 7, correct, yeah.
2 out of the 7, okay. So you don't have majority vote, but you do have
Yep.
representation. Got it, okay. I'm gonna ask another question. The monies that we get, the EDA, where does that come from? I'm not talking about borrowing the money, where does that come from?
Levy, part of the taxes, so percent, what was that, I can't remember the percent.
I believe it is
Yeah, I can't remember, but a couple, 2 points up,
a little over, yeah.
Yeah, it's
like-
part of the levy.
Yeah, it's-
Yep. Yep.
We
HRA
didn't,
gets
we
it.
didn't take the max this year.
Yeah.
It was 207,000, I believe, is what it was.
Yeah,
So then the EDA has that, but as a commission, that goes away?
Correct. And that would go back into the general fund.
no, it still goes to the EDA, but the EDA is the council.
Correct.
They just log in and do the recommendation.
No difference in the HRA.
Just like the HRA, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Both of those 2 are authorities, they both have levies.
but it's their money,
Who's there?
the council's money.
The-
We don't have
Decide where it goes.
to
Okay.
decide. So you want to do, soil testing, all of that.
That's the city
As
council.
it's set up right now, we can vote and say, hey, we want to move forward, let's spend that money. We don't have to go to council and get approval.
When I look at how North St. Paul has changed in the last few years, and again, I'm an outsider, I just moved in here a year and a half ago. It has been remarkable how the city of North St. Paul, I kind of equated it, it's like the northeast Minneapolis on the east side. Young families are coming in. I love going to Max Diner. I love seeing the young families there, the apartment buildings on both sides. I mean, there's a lot happening, and I think that is from the EDA. I'm not, they had a big hand in the redevelopment of North St. Paul.
The EDA's done a lot over the last 20 years, and I've been in the city for 10. The EDA's done a lot over 18 to 20 years in downtown North St. Paul to get things moving.
So then I go back
Yes.
to Tim Cole saying, if it's not broken, why change it? That's kind of where I'm coming out on this.
That's why I think I like the authority better, because if there's something that we need to do here, and if it's something that's not gonna affect my standpoint as a council person, that if it's the best thing that we can do to assist our city in becoming a better helper for getting business to come in here, I think that's the only way we can do this, to make it better, to help generate more revenue in the city.
We had, Robert Dew was the chair for a long time, and he was in the building construction, so he brought a lot to that. So as far as what we were looking at that, he's the one of the first one. He was on 12 years, I think, by the time he ran through, because they had to do things. So there is some on there, so. I wanted to just bring it up to have everybody understand that it's 6 years, and you have to, and we're accountable when it comes, because there's a budget, and it has to have a treasurer and everybody else as far as that, so. If we have that and we're willing to go forward with that, I'm fine with that, but there's just that accountability that needs to be done by the time frame with the state and all the other things.
With the EDA.
Correct, EDA.
And so there's a part of me that goes, throw it up to the city council so that I don't have that accountability. But with the EDA, there needs to be I would assume an audit of some kind on the financials.
We go through audit every year, and it goes through all of it, yep. We just finished it up about a month ago, maybe? I had to go through,
Weeks,
a couple
yeah.
weeks, I had to go through and sit down with the auditors and go over everything.
Yep.
Correct.
From a treasurer standpoint, I mean, the city's been doing that part of it for years, right?
Correct.
I mean, there hasn't been as far as I know, could be wrong, there hasn't been an appointed treasurer of, where do you live? Address, please.
Where is it?
25, Tim Cole, 2570 Jones Way. Yes, there was a treasurer, comma, but all he did was read the notes that were provided by finance director.
So there wasn't a
So
treasurer.
correct.
Okay,
In name only.
got it.
And they worked with the community development director who worked with the finance director.
Okay, thanks for
They can
clarifying that.
do that as a city representative for the EDA.
Perfect, thanks, Brian. Let's vote on it?
All in favor of keeping the EDA the way it is right now?
We show hands, or what are we?
Say aye.
Yeah.
Raise your hands. It would be
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we got her.
Got it.
EDA, we just gotta do election.
wonderful. And that is, I appreciate that.
I appreciate you guys listening, because I didn't want to spring anything, because it's one of those things where, for an authority, we really have to discuss and make sure we're on the same page. So thanks for all your input.
And I am new to this, so it's
Yeah, me
new,
too.
but I do see the history of what EDA has accomplished, and I'm just in awe of what North St. Paul has accomplished in the
Yep.
last few years.
Great,
Amen.
that's good to
All right.
know.
All right, so next up will be the election of officers again. Fortunately, we are down to members. I'm going to turn this over to Chris, who can go over the responsibilities of the positions, and then we can vote on who we'd like to be in those positions.
Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry.
Ooh, yeah.
Is, he mentioned monthly, are we gonna discuss, are we gonna stay quarterly, monthly? Is that something that,
It is not something that is on the agenda.
okay, don't worry about that next
Would
time.
you like to bring that up for a vote next time, or?
if people can think about it, I mean, we can look through the list of stuff that, you know, that you talked about. I know there's some things we talked about as staff and you and I, so we're gonna look into.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Per the bylaws of the North St. Paul Economic Development Authority, the authority shall annually elect the offices of president, vice president, treasurer, assistant treasurer, and secretary. The offices of secretary and assistant treasurer need not be held by an authority member. And now I will go through just a little bit about each of those offices. The president shall preside at all meetings of the authority. The vice president shall preside at any meeting of the authority in the absence of the president and may exercise all powers and perform all responsibilities of the president if the president cannot exercise or perform the same due to absence or other inability. The treasurer office, the treasurer shall receive and be responsible for authority money, is responsible for the acts of the assistant treasurer, shall disperse authority money by check only, keep an account of all authority receipts and the nature, purpose, and authority of all disbursements, and shall file the authority's financial statement with its secretary at least once a year as set by the authority. The assistant treasurer shall have all powers and duties of the treasurer if the treasurer is absent or disabled. And finally, the secretary shall keep the minutes of all meetings of the authority and shall maintain or cause to be maintained all records of the authority. The secretary shall also have such additional duties and responsibilities as the authority may from time to time and by resolution prescribe. So at this time, staff recommend the EDA conduct the annual election of the offices of president, vice president, treasurer, assistant treasurer, and secretary.
All right. Does anybody have an issue with the assistant treasurer and the secretary be Chris from staff?
No.
No.
Okay. Would you mind? Be three and three.
I accept.
Thank you very much.
Oh, congrats.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
We'd ask for president, but it says you can't be there. It says you gotta be one of these.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I haven't done this before.
We do need to open this up, as if anybody has a suggestion for putting any members forward for those positions, you're certainly welcome to put that out. Otherwise, we need to have that conversation, and you guys need to make that decision and vote on it.
That could be including the folks we're missing.
I don't think that would be appropriate to vote them in, so we're limited.
So we got three spots to fill with 5 people? How much longer do you have?
26. But I do have to say, one of the council members, Cassidy, was not too happy with me being
The president?
Yeah, she brought that up at one of our meetings, so I don't know where that goes.
But then again, now that I'm on the board here, that I can reassure her that it will be done, correctly, however they want to classify insurance. Because I know Mr. Cole was on there at the same time. He was probably elected in.
Was not an official on council. On the EDA, I was a representative only.
Not an authority? No.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think Andrew would be a great president, since he's going to be with us for
A year.
7 years, because that's 1 plus 6 would be
So,
7.
I'm thinking member. I'm thinking member.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I tried.
It's not to say that you guys can't vote I don't care if it's the mayor or a council member, to be in one of those positions. I think part of the issue before was there was an understanding that that person thought the person elected themselves to be in that position. So it's not an issue if that's what you guys vote on and that's what somebody accepts, is to have one of those positions.
So I'm fine, I mean, I like John's position as president, since he is the mayor. And I'm fine with that. We're still an EDA. I don't see the issues with that.
Yeah,
Where do you live?
don't say Sean's way. We already got one guy on there.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a point of clarification on something I don't understand. If the Honorable Mayor John Monge does happen to get elected president, would this be for a 4 or a 6-year term? Was the only clarification I was hoping for, because I don't understand. Thank you so much.
I think it goes just by the name, so the next mayor would take up, because it's always the mayor and a council member.
Correct? Yeah, it is.
I don't think it goes by name, it just goes by position.
I would have to agree with that.
So a year and a
Like
half.
you won't be here, unless you run again, you wouldn't be 6 years, you'd be after 4 years, and the next person would jump on unless you ran again.
Right. Yeah, there was no terms for you then at that time, right?
No, my term ended when my tenure on council
Okay.
closed. Same would be with yours.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll second that from Andrew. I don't see any issues in changing Mayor Mungy from the president.
Yeah, I'm with you.
One of the things that I could say is, I'm still new to all this, and if I were to happen to get that seat, which I really am not interested in, is, there's so much learning at the one end of the council to learning at the EDA end, which he's been experienced with for the last couple of years now, and he's more versed and able to get in and find out more information than I would, because I'm still trying to get myself used to even coming in the building and seeing people, and meeting people, and engaging people.
Okay.
Mr. President, are you willing to keep the position?
If it doesn't cause an issue, I'm fine with it, yeah.
So the issue was, people felt that he was handed so let's vote on it and let's eliminate.
We voted the last time.
We
too. I
did
just wanna
vote the
make
last
sure.
time.
Exactly.
But
So-
let's be very specific and let's vote again.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Councilmember- Or, not Councilman, Member Matthews, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Wonderful.
Vice President, are you still willing to be at the helm for that, or,
You bet.
okay? Anybody throw their hat in the ring for Vice President? All right, can I get a motion for
Yeah, can't get me on.
I'm sorry, so hard to get these to right. Anybody want a motion? Brett?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
Lindsay, Nath, all those in favor for Matthews for Vice President, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Treasurer, sounds like, just gotta stay awake.
Andrew?
He does the notes. Brandon, what you doing, bud?
What does this entail?
Staying awake.
Stay
I can do that.
We are fortunate to have Chris, so for the treasurers, you'll get the notes and be able to be a part of that, but yes.
Be taken care of by city staff.
That's city staff takes care of it. Does that work for you?
I can do it.
Okay, for treasurer, for Brandon?
I'll make a motion.
Matthews?
Se-
Second, Nath? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chris, for everything, and
Thank you.
now here we go. Thanks for all your input out there, appreciate it.
Hard to sit here with your hands.
Are they warm?
That's right. All right, now we got some exciting stuff.
Here we go. So we are looking at, I'm going to go over the facade improvement program again, and then we can vote to accept it and officially make it a program, and then we can start advertising that out to our businesses. So The purpose of this was to recognize an important role that a vibrant downtown plays for the city. And what this money would allow is, which we have set aside $200,000 for the program. This becomes a 50% match for anybody applying for it, and then we're having a minimum of a $5,000 request. So that would be $10,000 for a total request, half of it being covered by the EDA. It goes over in here what is available for it, that it's a matching grant, and that they would have to do the project, which would have to be, if it comes as a standard project that we've already covered in here of one of the things that is acceptable to pay for, we will take care of it on the community development level. If it becomes something out of the ordinary, we can bring it back to you guys for an approval and a vote and approval. We can call together a special meeting for that, so they're not waiting for a duration of time until the next meeting. We've already had one business has already shown interest in it. I hope you don't feel I jumped the gun, but I was at the Business Association meeting today and said that this was something that we were talking about, discussing, and hopefully approving today, and to keep their eye on the website for this program to move forward. So we went over all of the items that this would be accepting of the grant dollars. For example, restoration of exterior finishes and materials, masonry repairs, tuck pointing, exterior painting or reciting, removal of architectural inappropriate or incompatible exterior finishes and materials, repair or replace windows and doors, must be architecturally appropriate, signs if it's an integral part of the overall facade improvement, contracted labor related to any of the above improvements, including design work for improvements that are to be completed. That is not part of if the business owner themselves does the work, though. It does not cover that labor. And like I said, other improvements similar in or in nature of the above. Grant funds will be used to pay for the materials. It does go over the things that it's not for. So again, it's for the facade, the front of the building, so it's not for any kind of work on the side or the back or rooftop units, things of the such, or parking areas. The eligible properties are on 7th Avenue and from, it says on Margaret Street from Highway 36 south to 6th Street. Well, 6th Street, if you actually drew that line through, more or less stops where 7th Avenue starts. Then it says, how do I receive the grants? So you, once you are approved, then they will hire their contractor to do the work. They will pay for the work and then come back with the invoices after it's all said and done. The city will look at the project pre and post and make sure that the work has been done appropriately and everything's been approved and inspected, so. To submit the application, there are a few steps, just a written description of the project, including drawings, before and after photos of the building, and other supporting materials that accurately represent scope and intent of the project's improvements. A contractor's bid that meets the following guidelines. Matching grants may only be used for eligible costs as identified in the document. If qualified to do so, you may perform the work yourself. However, grant funds can only be used to compensate for materials, not for labor or purchase or of rental of tools or equipment. Sweat equity labor includes that of a friend, relative, or anyone with financial interest in the business or property. Evidence that the contractor is bonded and or insured, and the EDA reserves the right to request a second bid from the applicant. So the community development, like I said, will review the select grant projects, get a secured and signed copy of the application and participant agreement, and then complete the project and submit the documentation. And then we will bring that back to you for approval on reimbursement of the project. So I think it would be a good project. I think once upon a time they did have this. It was a while back, but I think this would be good for the business owners downtown to be able to have access to these funds.
I agree. There's been a lot of construction and a lot of stuff that's happened, so I'm glad that we can take people that have, been able to, go through the hard times of roads closed and everything else and be able to give them help with a little refresh. I think it's gonna be really good. I'm excited for this.
Indeed. Yeah, so.
I like this program. I think it's needed. One question as to who can apply for a matching grant. Would it be excessive to require that the businesses applying are not in any violation of state and federal rules and regulations per their industry? And that's a question. And I don't know how you monitor that, but so,
Example, like,
their taxes aren't paid, they're in
Oh.
default
okay,
of their payroll taxes or their
business in good standing, kind of
business.
like almost?
Yeah, correct. And I don't know how you check that,
Okay.
but if you're in litigation with the IRS because you haven't paid your employee taxes, your payroll taxes, is this somebody that we want to give money to improve their, the building? And it's more of a question.
Sure, yep.
I would, if I don't mind, that may be a slippery slope for us to get into those kind of weeds and ask for that kind of personal information if we aren't aware of it. I mean, we do have building officials through Rum River that will inspect any job and do the due diligence that we do as a city for any kind of construction projects.
Got
And I
it.
see where you're coming from. I think it may be difficult. I mean, I don't even know how you would dive into some of those things, like getting IRS information or you may be able to ask for it, but
Fair enough.
Just my
And
opinion.
I was just,
Yeah,
that
good
just crossed my mind, so, okay.
I just didn't know if even that at their business, just had a business in good standing, just the general
yes.
type of thing. And that's kind of the we're doing well, we want to get this.
I mean, there are some federal grants that, they look into, do you have workers' comp? Do you have, these other things, but I just don't feel
Sure.
that's who we are.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
All right.
Now, for the facades and that, is this gonna be including like a fresh paint job on buildings that are more stucco-ish? Or are you gonna require like a brick, like Gary Insurance has got, and next door he's got the molded brick in the front? Now, those are things that I like to see, or to base their city on how to develop and put the front together. I don't want the people to pay a lot of money, but if they can decorate it to make it a fresh paint, or clean out the brick and just make it a facade, like we have Shalex with the old name in the plate glass and that, just to clean all that stuff up, and whether or not he put awnings or anything like that, that's part of the facade here, But just cleaning up everything and cleaning the brick, that's the biggest thing, and people just don't take care of the fronts. But if they clean up the fronts, people are gonna notice how much cleaner our city is.
And what is your question?
Are they going to allow any contractor to come through? Or would you condense it down to get a couple contractors to come in and maybe give these business owners a better price that would do more of the work, being they're already here in their city?
I don't know that that would be the path to go, that we're giving that option up to the business owner themselves, because I don't know how many businesses we're actually going to have jump on board to do that, to have one contractor think that they would do everything that might come forward, whether or not it's a sign or an awning or tuck pointing. I just don't know that you'd have the catch-all contractor necessarily.
Yeah. I think the business owners are gonna want the autonomy of finding their own contractor.
And they still have to fall within the planning commission.
Exactly.
If they want something on the
Yeah.
front, the planning commission's gonna say you can or can't, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And the EDA has a right, I see here, to get request a second bid.
Yeah.
So we have a check and balance to some degree.
And they're bonded and insured, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, can I get a motion to for the improvement facade program?
I'll move.
Second.
Second, Nath. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Great. We are going to move on to updates. I will take care of the staff updates. I do want to discuss, I brought this up in a previous meeting about CEDA, which is Community and Economic Development Associates. We actually have our member out here that initially made the contact with this company. So what CEDA is they provide rural communities, counties, and organizations with support to plan for, implement, and celebrate projects that keep them moving in the future. CEDA's flexible structure allows rural municipalities and organizations to be proactive about economic development by providing a dedicated professional to serve as an economic development staff member on location, if so requested, contract for the amount of staff time and accommodates budgets, collaborative developing of yearly work plan to align and meet goals, and assure accountability with standard 30-day out clause included with every contract. So we did have a representative from CEDA come out. They were contacted last November. We actually didn't get the report until, I think, a month ago or so, approximately, month and a half. But they were willing to come out. It was at no cost, and they give us a first impression of our city to see where we could make improvements or how we are serving our constituents well. And these are items that could help with businesses in our downtown. Some of the information, or a good amount of the information, comes from census data information coming from Ramsey County. But they do try to make suggestions about how can you improve your downtown, how can you improve people finding your downtown, wayfinding signs. They look at your website to see if you have good explanations of what services that you have, what you offer, and they look at it to see where they could make improvements for it. So I can go over what was found with the report that they turned in, and if this sounds like something that of interest to you, at the end I will go over what they can do for rates, what they cost, and if it is something that we are looking to look more deeply into, we can bring that representative back out and maybe at the next meeting, and they can discuss more in depth with you. So the introduction was the purpose of the first report is to provide the city of North St. Paul with information on assets and opportunities as observed by the person who came out to look at our city. The report does not constitute a proposed work plan. It may include items that the city has previously discussed or declined to move forward with. The report should instead be viewed as firsthand observations and suggestions ascertained and conveyed by visitors through a community development lens. It kind of goes over, I won't go into all the details of community demographics of how our city is made up. It goes on to talk about population, location of where we're at, what we have for transportation here. We have our DNR trail, it goes right through the middle of our town. We have Highway 36, Highway 120. We have good bus access in town, all positive things. Talks about median household income and home values, workers' earnings, and the percentage of those earnings in different categories in our city, which we do have a lower income city in comparison with a lot of other cities. Gives us top 10 jobs by industry sector, largest of them being educational services, retail, trade, and manufacturing. Talks about the inflow and outflow of our city. So we have, according to the last count, about 349 people that live in this town and work in this town. Otherwise, we have close to 5,000 people that travel to our town to work. And then we have a little over 6,000 people that live in our town that travel outside of our town to go to their jobs. It does talk about our online presence, and we have pretty good feedback from that as far as talking about city parks, what we have for resources, city forms, bill pay, things like that through the city, park rentals. We also have good user-friendly navigation. which was one of the key things that they look for. And online presence for social media. Facebook is our biggest one, but we also have Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn that is used. They do talk about the signage around town. We have good signs that kind of promote our city. You know, we have our logo on a lot of our street signs. You know, we have good signs for our parks, you know, where they're at, how they're located. One of the downsides of us being in a metro city is you don't know, unless you're familiar with the town, when you're leaving one city and going to another city. So they did say that there was room for improvement on something like that. Does talk about housing, cost of housing in town. Said about there's a 97% occupancy rate in North St. Paul, of which 67% of them are owner occupied. Some pretty good stats with some of this stuff. Like I said, a lot of that comes from the census, but good information. We have 4,807 housing units here. The median value of owner-occupied housing units is about $286,000. The city also experienced a moderate level of geographic mobility, with 12.3% of residents having moved in the past year. It's also worth noting that 43% of the residents report moving to the community between the years 2010 and 2017. It does talk about the education that we have in town, being that we have the school district here, 622, but also some of the private schools we have here, whether or not St. Pete's or North Metro Flex Academy across the street here. Talks about our downtown, you know, recently improved upon, some of the other businesses that we have down there. Services that the city offers, like the emergency services, healthcare, utilities, library here in the city. It does talk about our recreation, you know, the availability of parks, what we have at our parks, some of the activities that we have throughout the city through the year. Does have community promotions, which they said that our city is good at promoting, at least on our website. We have good internal marketing, and the external marketing, they had good things to say about that as well. In conclusion, they said the development, there is some construction going on in the community. However, it's limited by the proximity to neighboring communities and that we are built up to our borders for the most part. Recreation, the city offers a wonderful blend of recreation activities for citizens of all ages. 2 lakes located within the city are a tremendous asset. Community engagement, it's clear that the city of North St. Paul takes pride in keeping citizens informed. Residents have a multitude of resources in which to access information. The conclusion is clearly that North St. Paul is home to residents who are dedicated to their community and activity, create opportunities for its growth. There are many recreational activities to enjoy, and the close proximity to Minneapolis-St. Paul Metro creates opportunities to attract visitors and new residents alike. So they did have good things to say. Like I said, we can go further if this sounds appealing to you to bring them in. We can talk about rates. So we can go down as little as 1 day every other week or twice a month. And that costs us about $16,000 a year to contract that. And you can go all the way up to having somebody here 5 days a week. And I will say these were, well, this is 2025 staffing rates. So having somebody here as a full-time person is $110,000 a year. So there's a wide variety of what you may want and what they can do for us and what they can offer, and maybe offer other opportunities that we can, you know, attract more businesses and keep the businesses retainage of what we have. So that is the extent of the report, and it'd be great to hear your kind of feedback on that. If it's something that we might be interested in spending some money on and having them go out and talk to us more and potentially look at a contract with them, that would be the next steps.
Thank you. So right now, as far as development spots, we have official, now that we got appraisals and everything else, is the one across the street, Margaret Commons is what we're referring it to as.
Correct.
And then the other one between Sidewinders and the tattoo place, those are empty, ready to go type of locations right now, right?
That's correct, and I would like to add that at the end of last year, we put out an RFP for the property across the way. It was out there for more than a couple of months. We had no official submittals. We did talk to a local contractor that has done work here in the city before. He's expressed that interest rates are pretty high. Unfortunately, we've seen them increase again. Contract costs are still pretty high. He's actually very interested in maybe someday developing here, but he's waiting for the market to settle down a little bit.
Thank you, that's good to know. So, yeah, and that lot over there is a little strange. It has we kept it one building up there. That's how we're gonna get the TIF, if there is TIF involved, because you have to take something down. So that's ready for that. And there's an alley that goes through for the big sewer that's about 6 feet in diameter. And then you got poles back there too. So it's a very long, very narrow lot. It was 4 or 5 lots before, something like that, or 6?
Yeah, even 6, yeah.
Yeah, so we did get that platted as one. So we had it ready appraised and we had it out there, but right now we haven't gotten anything as far as that. So that's the 2 low-hanging fruit things we have in town right now.
Correct. Otherwise, it's redevelopment, so.
And I did talk to Love's Andy. So her and I had a conversation. They're still open. There was something that said they weren't open, but they're still open for business. And that's great, ice cream, but they are looking to move on to retire. So they are gonna, this April, they're gonna have the building and the business back up for sale again, they were talking about. So last fall, they took it off for the winter.
Thank you, and I misspoke at that before. You know, another property that kind of comes up that people inquire about is the property there on South Avenue and Highway 120. Pretty rundown building. There's one business there right now, the Pizza Factory, or what was the Pizza Factory. They, it sounds like they've had a change of heart. They initially were going to stay there till the end of last year and then move into a different place. They have since extended the contract, but now the business is up for sale again, so.
And that's the only place in that mall left.
That's the only place left, yes, that's correct.
And that's privately owned.
It
So
is.
that has nothing, right now. As far
Yeah, we have no control over that, but it's
Yeah.
one that gets brought up.
Well, if somebody could come on and help us with that Pine Tree Center, I mean, that, it's worth gold right there.
It's nice.
It's been an eyesore, and it's, my parents live right by there, so I see it all the time. I remember the glory days of that place. It was 7-Eleven back in, 70s, maybe? Yeah,
St. Paul Dairy next door to it.
that's right.
That's right.
Is that where the Pizza Factory is?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's almost a 2-acre site. So that's a great big site. I mean, you can do a lot.
High traffic area.
High
I mean,
traffic area. So I think about that company that did that report that you just read. And I think about, it might be a little premature to have them, because to pay for that organization, because we do have that site, we have Sidewinders, the Pizza Factory was on my mind, I just drove past it recently, and what is that building? And I Googled it, and sure enough, it's, somebody in Phoenix owns it, it's a 1.82 acres, it looks like an eyesore. I think there's some low-hanging fruit for us to get to before engaging somebody for any dollars, what we want are developers. The other thing too with right now is that a lot of developers are backing off of the redevelopment, or building anything new because of tariffs, because of rising interest rates, or interest rates being higher. So I think we're in a holding pattern, so I would suggest we don't hire anybody right now because no one's doing anything. And I think our focus should be more of the fixing of that Pizza Factory site.
Getting hold of that piece of property somehow.
He owns quite a few properties around
Yeah.
St. Paul, so.
Yep.
Also owns the cottages here in town.
He owns what?
The cottages here in town, up off 11th Avenue.
Okay. Same owner? Okay.
Yep. So,
And
yeah.
they live in Arizona, I take it, property taxes go to Arizona, is what I know.
They have places in Florida,
Yeah.
So they don't pay the property tax up here then?
They do,
Sure
because
they
the
do,
bill goes to Florida.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yep.
Is where they,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah, we do have, and we did run into the last council, when Tim and I, were on that one as well. The developer for Article 7. They came to us at the last moment and said, hey, we can't get any loan on commercial space. So we had to do a change to a work live for them. So, I mean, they said that project almost went sideways because they couldn't get that. So it even started at that time where
Yeah.
it was hard to get for commercial.
So that all being said, this is a great time to focus on retention.
Correct. That's what the
And
facade.
and that's what we're
we talked
doing.
about. Yeah.
It's a great time.
Yeah.
It's a great time to reinvest in retention in the businesses.
And just make the city look nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, if we could get all our residents to take pride in all their properties, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're gonna be on hold for that. We'll continue with what we're doing. and
Yep.
We'll be able to reach out. I know that you have another hire that's gonna be coming on, correct?
We do. Ken Robbins is currently, he's a planner in Forest Lake, and he will be starting here on April 28th, on Monday. So
Community
looking forward to
Development
that.
Director.
Community Development Director.
Good for you.
So you will see him at the next meeting as well, have his involvement with this.
So.
Awesome.
We'll have him for the resource then too. Okay,
Indeed.
good.
Yep.
That'll be good to see where he's at too, be able to go from there.
And he has a long history. I mean, he worked 19 years in Maplewood. He worked in Lake Elmo, now in Forest Lake, so he's good experience.
Good.
Nice.
All right, we'll just, all right.
Nothing further.
All right, nothing further, so then it's any member updates? Anybody have anything to say?
Oh, I got one thing. I had a person asked me, says, we've got no signage on McKnight Road directing traffic into our North St. Paul district. Is there some type of a signage that we could ever come up with to specify, cause if they're going south of McKnight, they've already bypassed South Avenue. That's south. To let them know that North St. Paul is to the left, because if they don't realize that they can go straight ahead and go around the former Shifsky site, nobody really knows how to get into North St. Paul.
That's a good point. And there, we have property right there. I'm trying to think, is that on 7th or South?
The X station down on the corner
Correct.
there.
Yes.
And there was, if we could put a sign there, I don't know if it'd be a billboard sign, or if it'd be a lit up neon sign or something, downtown North St. Paul. And then certain nights would be a flashing of car show tonight, things like that. That would be a possible thing that our EDA could work on to get better signage for our North St. Paul.
That has been brought up in the past, yes, that would be a good place for a sign.
Where are you saying?
So-
He always is like 4 businesses.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
There used to be a gas
You know
station.
where the North St. Paul Animal Hospital is on Seventh?
Okay.
Across the street.
Oh, okay, all right.
That was
Yep.
the old gas station down
All right.
there at one time.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure south of it, when you 36 as far
No, you're
as,
going south and McKnight off
Yep.
at 36,
yeah.
yeah.
Because even when you go,
So I'm thinking Holiday.
No, but it's south of there yet, where North.
But even if people are getting off, because most people are coming off of 36, right? I mean, most of the traffic's
And
gonna
they
be
take a
there.
right.
They take a right and they're going south on McKnight. Your first logical left is gonna be at the Holiday, not down by the veterinarian place.
Well,
That's
you would
another,
think- You would think so, but
right?
real quick, I think
Go ahead.
south has a turn light. I don't think
turn light,
7th
yeah.
does.
So-
It does.
Does 7th have one too?
I
Okay.
think they both do now.
I wasn't sure if they had a light on that corner too. I know south did.
The only catch there is we own property right there.
Yeah, okay.
So, but that doesn't mean you couldn't use a sign, but that, if you went as far as a lit-up sign, but now you're dealing, we'd have to go through the planning, and then, of course, talk with neighbors, because some of them, we'd have to, the new signs have a lot of abilities. You can turn them down, turn them off, so they're not so illuminant at night, so it's not bothering people sleeping at night. But I think those have a decent cost to them as well, but we can certainly look into it, and
just, just a thought, because
Yeah.
I, so councilman brought it up to me, and I said, well, you can always find out.
So that site is only a quarter acre,
It's very small.
and so you can't really use it for anything other than,
Yep.
I think it'd be kinda neat, like, I kinda liked all the snowmen that were put all around town, kind of tied into the big snowman. Could we put a snowman there pointing with lights that shine up to the snowman, so it's not a glowing neon sight, with like a hand extending out, just continuing on that theme of the snowman,
Visit our downtown North St. Paul.
pointing people to downtown.
We'd have to get a new mold if we're gonna have him pointing, but we could, we could do a snowman
I
though.
mean, I was coming up with something that ties in.
Another
I mean, the snowman was just featured on something.
Yeah, it was
like-
on
Yeah,
Pier
local
11.
It was
news,
Pier
yeah.
11, you know?
No,
and,
Channel 9, I'm sorry.
oh, one of the
Maury
big-
Glover.
So,
That man there was interviewed for it.
Yeah, you
yeah,
were there.
so let's
Father Time interviewed us, so.
let's double down on the snowman and have him pointing, or snow woman, or
Yeah, that's
whatever.
right.
You wanna do.
Good.
So,
Something there. Also, there's one too for signage that, I know it was asked when it was first built in '08, but I drive around a lot in Chaska, Wyzetta, they all got signs on their bridges now that say towns. I know that was
Yeah.
asked quite a while ago and it was poo-pooed by the MinDOT, but I was wondering, I do see more above highways like 212 over there by Chaska, it says Chaska on it. It'd be nice to be able to have something on the Margaret Bridge that says North State.
I have talked to Morgan, and Morgan has given me a contact through MinDOT for the bridge person, who he said would be a good place to start right there. So I think that'd be a wonderful idea. And
That's a great idea.
Flag up on the
Really
bridge.
cool.
Good,
I think we better,
start with one thing.
yeah, they're pretty picky. I mean, I think we've asked for things in the past, and they're just a flat out no. When it comes to signs, especially along Highway 36, no.
Yeah, if we could,
Um,
that'd be really awesome.
You know, too, is wondering, so there's a railing, and it works out well because there's 5 spans of railing, if you will, so it would be perfect in the middle section. But do we do it in the railing, or, because I've seen some of them where it kind of hangs down on the bridge part as opposed to up above to where, I don't know if people, I don't know. I guess we'll just start the
Yeah, see what they
conversation
allow,
anyway,
what
but
they do,
yeah.
what their rules are. Yeah, it'd be
Indeed.
nice to see. But I do see more, but, now there seem to be popping up a little more.
Yes.
Good. All right, anything else, gang? If not, I'll call for adjournment.
so moved.
So moved.
Second?
Burnett, Matthews, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, right now we have on the schedule June 10th is the next meeting, and you're gonna go over some of the other stuff, Brian, of suggestions. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.